I'm Robin Coletti. I'm the program director at RedLine. So RedLine is a contemporary art center, and we believe that art can instigate social change, and we want everyone to, as an individual, look at the tool of art as a way to start conversations about social issues. Mm-hmm. So we do a lot of different things, and I'm honored to be sitting here with all of you because environmental education is not our focus, but social issues are. So we have an exhibition space, we have artists in residence, we have a community studio with lots of different programs. We also go into schools and we focus on our neighborhood of 5 Points, 80205, and really work with less resourced communities in that neighborhood. So that's kind of RedLine. So within RedLine, Reach Studio is a program we have. All of our programs are community responsive, so they really are looking at, I like how you said, the assets of the community, but also the need and balancing that out. One particular need, does everyone know where 5 Points is? Okay, or for the most part. Okay, so one particular need is we're positioned right between all of the service providers for people experiencing homelessness. And so we wanted to figure out what's the connection with art and this. So Reach Studio gives space to people that are experiencing homelessness that want a space to create. Some are artists that have degrees and have MFAs, that's the rare case usually. Most are experiencing homelessness on the street and want a space to create. We give supplies and mentorship, place to exhibit, a place to sell, kind of a way to sustain themselves as best you can as an artist. So that's kind of the program within RedLine. And this past summer, we wrote a grant to Arts and Venues, which runs a lot of the city's cultural plan and different components of the city related to arts and culture. We wrote a grant and asked to do something in Triangle Park. I'm going to ask, who knows about Triangle Park? Okay, because I don't want to go too, okay. So Triangle Park is this space that is between the Rescue Mission and Samaritan House and all these service providers and very close to RedLine. There it is. And this park was a place where lots of people experiencing homelessness gathered, but it was their kind of place of rest, but it was also a place of exploiting them through drug deals and different things going on. And so the city made the choice, we're going to shut this park down and we're going to turn it into an urban garden, which sounds like a great solution and I think is a good solution. It was interesting because RedLine, kind of being an advocate for homeless, was kind of positioned on the other side of thinking, okay, we can't just shut this place down and not give a space for people to move.
Right.
And mind you, we're still an arts organization, but we're representing artists. At the same time, this place is really contentious and it's not working the way it is. And so the city gave Denver Urban Gardens a really difficult job of transitioning the space. And then they reached out, are you still with me? There's a lot of layers to this. They reached out to St. Francis Center, which is a day shelter for people experiencing homelessness, and said, well, we want people from here to actually run the garden, which was a great idea, right? To get people to run the garden that had accessed the space prior to that. Then they reached out to RedLine and said, we want you to create art because you have this art from people experiencing homelessness. And I was like, well, that's nice, but I don't know if that's really what we want, how we want to be involved.
Right.
They really wanted us to beautify it, and we don't look art, I mean, art aesthetically is amazing, but we don't look at art in that way of always beautifying. So we wrote a grant to think, okay, what can we do that's different in this collaboration? And so us pairing with Denver Urban Gardens was really challenging, and we took it on because of the challenge. And we realized that both of us had these different values about the space and different perspectives. But we came to the common goal of, look, what we can do moving forward, the train has already left the station, it's turning into a garden, we can't do anything about it.
Right.
But what we can do is think about how people who were in that space, who now are more disenfranchised, can have a voice at least for a day. Not that that changes everything, but at least for a day, there's a community art activity, people can be invited into the space, and we can get voice about what's happening to this space. So we planned actually for 6 months, and we held a community art day. And what we did, we talked a lot about what stance do we want to take on this, and we talked about inviting people to do sit-ins and protest, and which way do we want to go? Do we want a community art day that's feel good and lovely, or do we want to like protest? Well, this is what went through my head, especially like, we're not a political organization, but with social justice, where can we fall? And so we kind of came in the middle. So we opened the space up, and we had a community art day. We had our reach artist who had experienced homelessness and guided us through this process, create panels for that day. So they created art that was around the topics like urban camping ban, homeless bill of rights, and different things to bring that into the conversation. We targeted people that were using that space before it got shut down. We did put it on Facebook and we put on these other things, but we didn't want it to be over that day, to be overtaken by the new gentrifiers of the neighborhood and people who wanted this choice to happen. So one interesting part of this, before this community event, the Parks and Recs had and again, Denver Urban Gardens and Parks and Recs are awesome. They're incredible organizations, but they were, through the city, kind of slated with this really difficult job. And so they had this kind of pumpkin Halloween festival thing in the park. And there's a huge fence around the park now. Like, it's just like a huge barrier. And we had this idea that the park would actually be open. Like, people could walk in like any other park. But as we were sitting there sipping our cider and picking out our pumpkins, and it was really just not people that were experiencing homelessness in the space, we realized there was going to be a code for the garden and that no one really was going to be allowed in. So when we did our community art day, we had to think, okay, at least we're opening it for this day. Again, it doesn't solve all the problems, but we had to balance out, how are we going to get people into this space? And then we opened the gates, we had food, we had all the stuff, and we just sat there. And we're like, okay, are people actually going to come in? Are they going to feel welcome in this space? And we had to go out. When we walked around the neighborhood and said, hey, come in, the space is open, and they're like, but it's never open. I was like, but right now it's open, and this is your chance to say whatever you want to say. We took photographs, we videoed people. In this collaboration, we realized that the important part of it was not taking my agenda or RedLine's agenda or Denver Urban Gardens or the city, but it was more actually meeting in the middle and keep finding that middle point and that middle ground to figure out how to have a common objective in it, essentially, which was tricky.